Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, readers of all persuasions. It is I, Gayla, and welcome back to Book Uncorked and Caffeinated, and welcome to Bookmas Day 15. I'm so hyped. I got my little Bookmas shirt on, my little Bookmas tree, drinking from my Cozy Girl Book Club cup. Is a new cup in the arsenal. I have so many cups, it's ridiculous. I'm drinking some tea because I'm taping at night, so once I do this, I'll be going to bed. But I wanted to do this particular video is because if you look at the thumbnail, I'm talking about the books I read quarter 1. And I wanted to do that because all through Bookmas, I've been talking about books I bought, books I want to read, books that's already on my shelf, book hauls, all these things. But I've read quite a few books during the year. Actually, as of today, which is December 14th, I've read 95 books. And so I want to talk about the best of the books for each quarter. So I read 10 books in January, 8 books in February, and 10 books in March. So that's 28 books. And so I'm super stoked about, talking about the best of the best. So let's get started. I got a lot going over here on in my book corner, but that's going to stay put. And I have my trusty book so I can have some of my notes. But I read 10 books in January, as I said, and so the best of the 10 books was 8 Seconds to Love by Monica Walters. Monica is not a super new author to me, but she was kind of newish in the year of 2025. And I actually met her at a book festival, and I did not know this was a part of a series. And so I picked the rest of the books up. So when I initially read this book, I listened with my ears, as I often say, and so I was happy to be able to pick the book up itself and the other books in the series. And this book is about the FMC, who is like a businesswoman, had some checkered past in her love life, and the MMC, who this book is really titled about, 8 Seconds to Love, is about a rodeo guy who goes from town to town, and his highest record is 8 seconds for being on the bull, and so he always tries to beat his record. He's one of those like kind of playboys going from town to town, hooking up with the local girls and doing what he does. But then he meets her, and it's always the one woman that takes your heart down. And so both of them had checkered past, and they kind of wanted to get this love thing right. So they kind of figured it out, so to speak, and wanted to be with one another. Even though this book was steamy, I really enjoyed the fact that it was like a love story, and you saw when both of the characters finally realized in their brain, oh, this is different than what I'm normally used to. And so that's what made the story super interesting for me, because yes, we want the spice, but we also want a story that goes along with it. So 8 Seconds of Love by Monica Walters was the favorite read of January. The favorite read of the 8 books that I read in February was Somebody Else's Wife by Robbie Renee. I do a lot of Robbie Renee's books on Audible as well. And this book is, I think, it's a part of duology. It seems like it was a trilogy, but it's really a duology. It's someone else's wife, someone else's husband, and someone else's love. And I think that someone else's husband is like not in the series. So that's what makes it duology, and I'll have it on the screen. But that book was about the MMC going to a new city, trying to get acclimated, and trying to revive his love life while meeting the FMC, who is actually married. And they met when she was out one day with her sorors, and they hooked up for a one-night stand, and things led to other things. But the part about her marriage, they were really going through, and so her mind and heart and perspective was open for someone else, and that's pretty much what happened. And so she hooked up with him. It turned out well for them in the end. I'm not promoting cheating within your marriage. I think you need to handle that before you move on, but it actually was a really good story. You get to think about, she got to think about, the FMC got to think about how she really wanted to be treated, and how she really wanted to be loved. So it came from that perspective. And that was the favorite book for February. And the favorite book for March was Harlem Rhapsody. I truly enjoyed this book. This book is probably going to be high rated for my kind of top books of the year. I think it's in the top 5 at least. And this was by Victoria Christopher Murray. It was about Jessie Rodman Fawcett, who was considered the godmother of the Harlem Renaissance. And she was given all the kudos for discovering Langston Hughes. She did a lot of writing on her own. I'm actually trying to look up some of her backlist and articles and things that she had wrote herself. But this story was very controversial because it was overshadowed by her affair with W.E.B. Du Bois. And so there were mixed reviews about this book. I actually was a part of 2 book clubs that read this book, and then one of them she actually came to and discussed the book, and it was before I actually read it, and it was good to hear her perspective of it. So when I started hearing the rumblings of why it was controversial, it made sense to me, and getting the author's perspective. And I also saw her at the Schomburg Museum, which she kicked off her tour for this book, so that was super cool because that's in Harlem. So that was a cool night. And she's a riot. She's super funny. She's super personable. And sidebar, I saw her in my travels. I was on the Amtrak. I'm not going to say where I was going or coming from, but I noticed her and I was like, I know that woman from somewhere. And then I sat in my seat. She was in the other part of the train. And I was like, I know who that is. So it was super cool to see her. I'm sure she was off to another author's event, but it's cool when you see authors in their element and just being real life people. And so that was cool to see her, but I wasn't trying to like, hey, how you doing? Give me your autograph. No, stuff like that. I'm really weirded out by things like that because I'm from New York City and we see a lot of people who are artists and things of that nature. So I'm always like trying to let them live as a person and not as the artist that we all come to love. So those were my books. That was what, 3 books? January, February, and March. And so I'm going to come back and do the other quarters as well. I read some really good books this year. I'm up to 95 as of today. I'm sure I'm going to get the last 5 in during my travels this holiday season. So I'm really looking forward to ending the year on the bang. So do all of the things: like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next video. Deuces.